I'm Blake Berman in Washington tonight. A town and a country rocked by the horrific scene in Orem, Utah today. Senseless political violence. Charlie Kirk, the influential conservative activist who founded Turning Point USA at just 18 years old, a powerful force in Republican politics, revered by many on college campuses across the country and inside the White House, inside the Oval Office, shot and killed today at an event at Utah Valley University. Moments before a bullet was fired, Kirk posting on his feed, quote, "We are so back." Utah Valley University is fired up and ready for the first stop back on the American Comeback Tour. The Charlie Kirk Show's TikTok feed, which has more than 7 million followers, posting this as that event began.
That's a lot of people, Utah, I'll tell you what.
Shortly after, videos then show Kirk struck by a bullet in the neck. Crowds immediately running in fear. Our Next Star affiliate, KTVX, talking to one of those students there on the ground.
All of a sudden, in a second later, I heard a gunshot, and everybody started running in like a mob.
Charlie Kirk then rushed to a local hospital. The Associated Press at one point reporting that he was in critical condition. Roughly 2.5 hours later, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, posting this to his social media feed, quote, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania, and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie," the president said, "we love you." Charlie Kirk was just 31 years old, a father of 2. His kids, just 1 and 3 years old. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, reacting just moments before that presidential announcement.
This is detestable, what's happened. Political violence has become all too common in American society, and this is not who we are.
And tonight, the search for whoever is involved with Charlie Kirk's murder is now underway. University police say the gunman was positioned in a building roughly 200 yards away. At one point, there was a report that a shooter had been detained. But as of this moment, as we understand it, that is not the case, and a suspect has not yet been publicly identified. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, saying the FBI and the ATF are on the scene. Senator Roger Marshall with me in a moment, but first to our Kelly Meyer, live at the White House tonight. Kelly, I have to imagine there is an immense sense of loss and grief in that building to so many folks who knew Charlie Kirk personally.
Yeah, and you've been over here, Blake. You know how busy it is and loud and running around here at the White House. There is none of that today. We were just commenting on how quiet it is over here and just how many of the reporters and cameramen and women came out here when the president announced that he was going to be lowering the flags across the country to half staff until Sunday, September 14th at 6 p.m. Eastern. And you could see the flags being lowered on the roof of the White House, as well as the North Lawn and back on the South Lawn, as well as across the country, as you heard the president reacting and really announcing this to the world that Charlie Kirk had died. We have been watching the reaction pour in from members of his administration as well as Washington, both sides of the aisle throughout the day. We heard from Vice President J.D. Vance reacting to this. He said, "Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord." Donald Trump Jr., a close friend, both Vance and Donald Trump Jr., both close friends of Kirk. Writing on X, Donald Trump Jr. said, "I love you, brother. You gave so many people the courage to speak up, and we will not ever be silenced." And also hearing from the other side of the aisle, former President Barack Obama sharing on X, "We don't know yet what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy." So that continues to pour in tonight. We have not yet heard from the president on camera, just in that True Social post that you mentioned there off the top. The dinner that we were watching for tonight, we aren't expecting that to happen anymore. Blake.
Of course not. Our Kelly Meyer live tonight over at the White House. Kelly, thank you. With me now here on the Hill, the Republican senator from the state of Kansas, Roger Marshall, with us once again. Senator, it's nice to see you in person. I hate it that it's under these circumstances. Charlie Kirk, you knew him. You were on a show recently. Tell me what it was like to be with him and to be talking to him.
Yeah, well, first I just want to reach out to his family here and let them know that God comforts us when we're crushed in spirit. I know that Charlie was a person of faith, and I know that God will be there for his family in this moment. And I just would share with you that my staff is crushed. That there's a bastion of young conservatives here, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
People out here, follow Charlie. I mean, they are his age, they're his generation, and they are absolutely crushed. And what was to be wife? He was a leader. He was the Pied Piper. I wonder when Buddy Holly died, they say the music died, and I feel like the music died today for this conservative movement. And we'll be back, but I really had that feeling that he was like a musician, only it was with his words and his inspiration.
You know this, I know this, a lot of times staffers here on Capitol Hill, they're younger, right? Yeah. They're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, they're grinding, they're trying to make it up, move on up. It strikes me that you say your staff is crushed.
Yeah.
Can you explain to our audience sort of what he meant for young conservatives and that movement?
I mean, this guy was doing things on campus. He started a new movement. If you think, he drops out of college. He's in his 20s. He starts this Turning Point USA.
At 18 years old. Just a teenager.
And he takes on the entire establishment of woke universities. And kids were wondering, what's going on here? What happened to my university that used to be, we talked about agriculture and engineering, and all of a sudden we're talking about political discord or whatever. So youngsters today looked up to Charlie, that he was leading this movement. There are the number of young Republican conservatives out there is just exploding right now. And he was one of those beacons out there that they looked up to.
You would go on his show. I believe you were on there earlier this summer or late spring. What was that like?
Well, I think it's, he's one of those people, sometimes people take from you. And he was a person that would actually fill you with hope. My prayer every morning is I'd be a message of hope. And he was one of those people that would give you hope as well. And it just was an inspiration for me. Like, that's who I'm fighting for. Here I am, he's my children's age. So that's the generation. And now my grandkids, so his kids would be his same age as my grandkids. So he's an inspiration that I knew that I was leaving this world better than I found it. And then we were back. We really were back again, and that being conservative was okay, that fighting for traditional Kansas family values were once again okay.
We've seen the reactions pour in from both sides of the political aisle, folks who aren't even political. What do you make of what you've heard today?
Yeah, I'm still sorting it out like you are. Certainly there's no place for political violence here. And I'm sitting there today, looking in the mirror. Am I part of the problem here? Is that the case or not? And I'm not blaming social media. I'm not blaming the national media, but they're part of this too. If it bleeds, it leads type of thing. I'm not going to get on national news today if I say, look, we had an incredible bipartisan prayer breakfast today. There was about 15, 17 of us there. A freshman member of Congress kind of shared their story of faith. That's not national news. So I don't know how can we share this part that we can certainly disagree and fight like heck on the Senate floor, but I have the greatest amount of respect for my colleagues across the aisle. I don't agree with them so I'm wrestling with that today as well. What have I done to contribute to the political unrest across this country? And we condemn the violence part of it. I want to fight for what I believe is right, so I'm wrestling with that tonight.
All right, we'll leave it there. Senator Roger Marshall, nice to see you in person. Sure. Thanks for being back with us here on the Hill. Joining me now, Chris Stirewalt, host of the Hill Sunday, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Chris, hello. You and I were chatting a little while ago. By the way, I want to let our audience know that we're expecting the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, law enforcement as well, any moment now. And when that happens, you'll watch and listen along with us. You knew Charlie Kirk, knew him for a long time ago. As I mentioned, he started this when he was 18, at least publicly. What were your sort of first impressions when you had met him as a youngster?
Well, there's something I can't let go past without commenting on it, is that what Senator Marshall just said, you don't hear it enough in Washington, D.C. And the fact that we just heard a sitting Republican senator a person in the majority party, a person of power, and a person who doesn't have to do it say, I'm looking at myself.
I thought that was...
I'm looking inward.
Bring the senator back. Do you mind hanging with us for a second? No.
And let me say, what was attacked today was free speech. That's what would our ability to organize ourselves as a republic and as a people is dependent on us being able to hear things we disagree with and be okay, right? That is what it is all dependent on. For that to happen, you can't win. Political violence occurs if the first thing that you do is say, it's the other side, it's the other people that did this, it's the other people that did this, then what you get is a ratchet effect that brings us closer and closer and closer to the abyss. And Senator, I have to say, the fact that you looked inward and asked questions about yourself today is a mark of real maturity and real, like, please tell the other, please tell the others.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge is, how do I institute that? I mean, people back home want me fighting for them, that we feel like that our constitutional rights are being infringed upon. So, and I am a fighter, but where do we draw the line? It's tough. I'm looking for answers, just like you all. It's not about me. It's certainly about this family. But we just condemn the Bible. 40 or 50 people are going to be murdered in this country today. Yeah. 100 people are going to die from fentanyl poisoning. I mourn for all those people. I mourn for all the violence. Is it just that we need to go back to basics here? And first of all, we need fathers in people's homes to keep these boys and girls under check. But how do we just stop all the violence? How do we stop the killing in our own country? And this is, again, this is a horrible.
The message that you heard, when I met Charlie Kirk and he was a teenager. Right. And he was very curious about politics and how do politics work. And I worked at Fox News at the time. And he would ask me, hey, let me ask you a question. How does this work? How does that work? And he was just genuinely curious about how politics works. And he was a bright and engaging and enthusiastic young person. And what he succeeded in doing was he created an organization that was more important, probably, I'm sorry to say, Republicans, than the Republican National Committee. He created an organization that had more to do with Donald Trump's success in 2024, certainly, than any super PAC or any billionaire. And he had plenty of funders, but what he did was give direction to a directionless party. Right? There was a movement that was started inside the Republican Party after the 2012 defeat. And if you look at the results of the 2024 election, that is the monument to Charlie Kirk, because Donald Trump's performance with young men, the Republicans' performance with young men who used to be a little more Democratic than Republican, the fact that they were lopsidedly Republican. Right. And when Democrats talk about Joe Rogan and the manosphere and what do we do about this, what do we do about this, what Democrats don't have is a Charlie Kirk, right? They don't have a charismatic young leader going from campus to campus to campus around the country day after day after day, starting a movement. And Charlie Kirk, there are very few people in American political life today who can say that they conceived of, gave shape to, and executed a political movement that was this successful.
Are you there with Chris, that basically, Chris and I were talking about this before, to Chris's point, at 2012, Republicans were trying to figure things out after Mitt Romney, and clearly the party's moved on, and it was Charlie Kirk who, in a way, sort of led, obviously Donald Trump came about on June 15th, 2015, right? Or June 16th, but that Charlie Kirk was sort of the one to push that movement.
Yeah, Charlie was the Pied Piper. That's why I keep thinking this Buddy Holly, The Day the Music Died. That's what I feel like. I just feel like it was a part of our heart that's ripped out. And I think about my own young sons, and that they are so, they're more conservative than I am. And
which is saying something.
It is, and that that Charlie Kirk gave them a voice, that gave them an inspiration, an example. I mean, this guy could have been president someday. He was young.
Yeah.
Chris Stirewalt, thank you, sir, and I'll see you later in the show. Again, Senator Roger Marshall, appreciate the time. Thank you. All right, joining me now. Someone we met, speaking of young and college campuses, I met Brylan Hollyhand December of 2023, I believe, or 2024. Either way, when NewsNation had the Republican debate down on the campus of the University of Alabama. Brylan is the host of the Brylan Hollywood Show and is a personal friend of Charlie Kirk. Brylan, it's nice to see you as well. I'm sure you remember when you were on set with Chris and I way back when. I'm sorry, this is the circumstance we speak under again. You were friends with Charlie Kirk, excuse me. Explain and sort of pick up from, if you can, from Chris and where the senator were on what he meant for folks like yourself in your age range on that side of the aisle.
Yep. Thank you, Blake, for having me. Charlie was larger than life, and he was a walking, talking beacon of hope for the next generation. I cannot tell you the amount of times that I gave speeches on college campuses and the very first question would be about Charlie Kirk. He was like this rock star to my generation. And I want to be honest with your audience here and say the only reason that Donald Trump is sitting in the Oval Office this afternoon is because Charlie Kirk worked his butt off tirelessly to knock on every door, to go to every campus, to get the next generation off the sidelines. And the first time Charlie and I met, I mean, he was one of my closest friends in this political business that's so lonely at times. He was one of my mentors for close to a decade now. I met him in the 4th grade. I was 11 years old when I first started my podcast. And Blake, I'll be honest, not a lot of people wanted to join a 4th grader's podcast. And Charlie certainly didn't need to. He was on TV every other hour, but he took an opportunity and took a chance on me. And he left me a little advice at the end of the segment. You can, go see it on YouTube today, almost 10 years later. And he said, Brylan, the left can out fundraise us every single time, but they will never outwork me. I will wake up as early as I need to. I will stay up as late as I need to. He was a true man of his word, and this is heartbreaking.
What'd you learn from him?
That he put his faith above everything else. And I got to say, it's been a mix of emotions this afternoon of like a lot of anger and a lot of frustration and a lot of heartbreak and sadness as I just get phone calls from your family and friends and just these mutuals. But the biggest thing that stands out is I want Charlie to be remembered as a man of faith, because that's what he was at the end of the day. You understand like the hectic campaign schedule of like crisscrossing the country and flying from state to state. You couldn't get a hold of Charlie on Sundays or book him for an event or a media interview on Sundays because he went home, he took his wife and kids to church, and he turned his phone off. That was the true man he was. Imagine the millions of dollars in speaking fees and TV hits and book opportunities that he missed out on because he respected the Sabbath. And that was his true personality. Nobody knew that. He didn't talk about that on his podcast. He doesn't make that like some public thing for people to praise him for. That was just Charlie being Charlie, and a lot of people will pay tribute to him and remember him. That's the Charlie I'll be remembering this week.
Started Turning Point USA, as I mentioned, then the sort of the political wing of that, and then Turning Point Faith to your point as well. You mentioned your friends and you're in college still, I believe, Brylan. What are your friends saying?
Yeah, I'm a freshman at Auburn University. I was just leaving a class and got a phone call from a mutual friend giving a report from the hospital and just, broke down. It was just how heartbreaking this is for not only like our movement or our party, but for the country. And I got to tell you, like my phone is so blowing up right now with text messages that I can't open the message app. And so many of them are young people on college campuses saying, what can we do? How can we get involved? What can we do to make sure that his legacy is not just a memory, but a blessing for our party and something that we can kind of pick up the baton and keep fighting, because so many people could look at this. And I'll tell you this, I'm speaking at a college campus event just this weekend. My team's wanting me to call and cancel and say this is a security risk, but we're looking at this as an effort of, hey, let's get off the sidelines. Let's do what Charlie would have wanted us to do. As heartbreaking, as emotional, and as difficult it's going to be to get behind a microphone and carry out his legacy, that's what Gen Z's tasked with today. And we can go one way of anger, or we can go one way of remembering him that way.
Brylan Hollihan, I mentioned I met you at Alabama. I'm glad I didn't assume that you just went to college there. A freshman over at Auburn University in the great state of Alabama. Brylan, it's nice to see you. I wish you all the best. I have no doubt we'll be talking again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie Kirk was sitting under a white tent emblazoned with the slogans, "The American Comeback" and "Prove Me Wrong," when he was murdered. It was part of the first stop of the new tour that he was doing. Trump 47 hats on display at the table. Kirk founded, as I mentioned, Turning Point USA in 2012 to counter, as he sees it, liberalism on college campuses with conservative ideals and faith-based messages. The organization has a presence now on more than 3,500 campuses, just about anywhere you go. Kirk traveled the country to inspire and motivate young conservative voters.
Speaking to you in my personal capacity tonight as a 26-year-old, I see the angst of young people as well as the challenges facing new parents. I am here tonight to tell you, to warn you, that this election is a decision between preserving America as we know it and eliminating everything that we love.
Joining us now with more on Charlie Kirk's impact on the young conservative movement, Lauren Wright, political scientist at Princeton University, NewsNation contributor as well, and Batya Ungar-Sargon, host of Batya here on NewsNation. Hello to you both, Lauren, Batya. Lauren, I'll get to you in a moment here. Batya, you knew Charlie Kirk. You had, believe, appeared on his platform several times. I see the distress in your in you right now. How are you doing, and how are you processing all of this?
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you. It's very devastating. He was a giant of a human being. He had me on his show repeatedly, even though he didn't agree with me about everything. He was not afraid to open his platform and his audience up to somebody who he thought had something to say, even if we didn't agree about everything. And he was always so kind to me. And when I think about this legacy he has, it's very easy to sit at home in your home studio and do a podcast, right? Kind of speak out into the ether. He went and faced people down out of this kind of kindness and confidence. His faith played a role in it. And he listened. He wanted to hear where the people he disagreed with were coming from, and he believed he could persuade them. It's just such an unbelievable legacy. It is so deeply American, and that's what I'm going to remember most about him.
Lauren, you're a professor on one of the most elite college campuses in the world.
Yeah.
There at Princeton, and as we've talked about, as you just saw there from Brylan, I wonder from your perspective tonight how you view what Charlie Kirk was able to build over more than a decade.
Well, it couldn't be more important. I mean, he was fulfilling moments before he died the most basic function that's critical to universities that they should be doing all the time, which is allowing people to say controversial things out loud and allowing people to debate openly about it. And there weren't many people on the right that were able to articulate bravely some of the more controversial ideas he had, or were embarrassed to speak about them. That's certainly the case with a lot of the conservative students at Princeton. But this is also really bad for the political left. I mean, because when you don't have a powerful message coming from the other party to make you think about your own positions, everyone is intellectually weakened. And so it's a really sad day for the political right, the political left, young people, and universities as a whole. I mean, this kind of stuff that he did on campuses should be happening all the time. And he was killed for it. I just can't even believe it. It's very disturbing.
Lauren Wright, with us tonight, Batya Ungar-Sargon with us as well. Batya, Lauren, appreciate it. I'll see you both soon.
Thank you.
Here on the Hill. We're going to head to commercial break real quick. We're anticipating the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, to speak momentarily. Law enforcement, there is now a manhunt underway in the state of Utah to try to find whoever is behind this. And as we head to break here and continue to talk about Charlie Kirk and the events that unfolded as you look there live in the state of Utah, and all that he meant politically for conservatives and for young people in this country on that side of the aisle. Keep in mind tonight that he was a husband and a father, children just 1 and 3 years old. Charlie Kirk dead at the age of 31, and our coverage continues.
Special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside with our partners. We are working on setting up a digital media tip line, and as soon as it's established, we'll get that information out to everyone. I know there's a lot of questions. This is very much an active case, and this investigation is in its early stages. We are following all the leads and all the evidence. If anyone has any information, please report it to the FBI or local law enforcement. Thank you.
On behalf of President Tumenez, who we've been communicating with, and she's on her way back right now, I say that on behalf of Utah Valley University, we are shocked and saddened by the tragic passing of Charlie Kirk. We express our sincere condolences to the Kirk family. We grieve with our students, faculty, and staff who bore witness to this unspeakable tragedy. He was invited by the student group Turning Point USA to speak on our campus. We firmly believe that UVU is a place to share ideas and to debate openly and respectfully. Any attempt to infringe on those rights has no place here. We do not condone any form of violence at UVU and seek to make our campus a safe place for all.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this dark and tragic occasion. I want to thank our law enforcement officers who are leading this investigation, starting with Chief Long and his response here with the UVU Police Department. We're grateful for your leadership and your team. And again, to the speakers that you've just heard from who are co-leading this investigation. I also want to recognize Sheriff Mike Smith, who has been an invaluable partner as this investigation moves forward. I've been in touch with President Trump, with FBI Director Kash Patel. We are completely aligned with our state and federal partners as we work through this case. Now, this is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. That founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life. And today, a life was taken. Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a husband and a dad to two young children. He was also very much politically involved, and that's why he was here on campus. Charlie believed in the power of free speech and debate to shape ideas and to persuade people. Historically, our university campuses in this nation and here in the state of Utah have been the place where truth and ideas are formulated and debated. And that's what he does. He comes on college campuses and he debates. That is foundational to the formation of our country, to our most basic constitutional rights. And when someone takes the life of a person because of their ideas or their ideals, then that very constitutional foundation is threatened. Now, we have a person of interest in custody. The investigation is ongoing. But I want to make it crystal clear right now, to whoever did this, we will find you. We will try you. And we will hold you accountable to the furthest extent of the law. And I just want to remind people that we still have the death penalty here in the state of Utah. Our nation is broken. We've had political assassinations recently in Minnesota. We had an attempted assassination on the governor of Pennsylvania. And we had an attempted assassination on a presidential candidate and former president of the United States, and now current president of the United States. Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken. We mourn with his wife, his children, his family, his friends. We mourn as a nation. If anyone in the sound of my voice celebrated even a little bit at the news of this shooting, I would beg you to look in the mirror and to see if you can find a better angel in there somewhere. I don't care what his politics are. I care that he was an American. We desperately need our country. We desperately need leaders in our country. But more than the leaders, we just need every single person in this country to think about where we are and where we want to be. To ask ourselves, is this it? Is this what 250 years has wrought on us? I pray that that's not the case. I pray that those who hated what Charlie Kirk stood for will put down their social media and their pens and pray for his family, and that all of us will try to find a way to stop hating our fellow Americans. With that, we're happy to take a few questions.
The FBI director is posting that a suspect is in custody. I would just like clarification. Do you or do you not have a suspected shooter in custody?
We have a person of interest in custody that is being interviewed right now.
That is not George Zinn.
That is not George Zinn. Okay. That is correct.
Is there any indication of
looking for another shooter or anybody else related to this?
Yes, we are actively looking for anyone and everyone who has any possible information relating to this shooting.
Can you tell us details about the suspect being taken into custody? Where? How long ago?
We cannot at this point, but we will get you that information when we can.
Is there believed to be a second individual involved in the shooting?
At this point, there is no information that would lead us to believe that there is a second person involved.
Do we have a description of the possible shooter?
Do you want to talk about what we know there?
Yeah. The only information we have on the suspect, the possible shooter, is taken from closed-circuit TV here on campus. We do have that. We're analyzing it. But it is security camera footage, so you can kind of guess what the quality of that is. But we do know dressed in all dark clothing, but we don't have a much better description other than that.
Where do you believe the shot came from?
The shot came from here on campus, from a location at a potentially from a roof. Yes, a longer distance shot from a roof.
So to clarify, with the security camera footage you have and the person of interest that's in custody, does that match up?
That's what we're trying to decipher right now.
So did FBI or DHS have anything on the threat board this morning?
I can't speak.
I'll just say that the investigation is ongoing, and as soon as we have further information, we will be sure to release it.
Any indications of foreign intelligence involvement?
As of now, I can't comment on any of that.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little about the security of the event itself? Who was there security-wise, and what happens on these kind of events?
So my name is Jeff Long. I'm the police chief here at UVU, and I'll tell you right now, we are devastated. We're a small police department. We have a very large campus. We have over 40,000 students, and we love our students. We love our visitors, and we're devastated by what happened today. This is the police chief's nightmare. I'm very saddened for the Kirk family. I know his wife and parents found out about this. You know, obviously he's away from home. He's here in Utah. They find out by a police officer that visits their home. That's tragic. Nobody wants that. But I can tell you about our venue today. This was an open venue. This was outside. We did have 6 officers working that event. We had probably over 3,000 people that were in attendance. It sat down in kind of a bowl area here on the central campus. We have a waterfall area. And so he was kind of in a lower area, surrounded by buildings. You know, we had some plainclothes police officers that were in the crowd as well. You know, we train for these things, and you think you have things covered, and you know, these things, you know, unfortunately, they happen. You try to get your bases covered, and unfortunately today we didn't. And because of that, we had this tragic incident. So we did have officers there. We had Charlie Kirk's team. He has a security team that travels with him, and they were here with him when he was shot.
Was the gun recovered?
I'm sorry, see?
Was the weapon recovered?
At this point, I can't disclose that.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, there was a question being asked about mass shootings. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
Say the question again. I don't know if I understand what you're saying.
When Charlie Kirk was shot, he was answering a question about mass shootings specifically. Was that person apprehended, and do you know who asked that question?
I do not. We do not have that at this moment.
What kind of weapon was used?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for just one more question, so thank you.
Yeah, a question for the chief as well. Was it your team or Kirk's team, or a combination of both, that kind of set the security protocol for the event?
So we work together. You know, he has his team, and they do this all over the country. We all know that. This is not uncommon for them. They're very comfortable on campuses, and I was coordinating with his lead security guy, and so yeah, we were working together.
Was this a sharpshooter type shot? Was this a
Ladies and gentlemen, those are all the questions that will be answered today. Again, thank you for covering this. We will be updating you as soon as we have additional information through normal channels, working with law enforcement. Again, our deepest condolences to the Kirk family and to the students who were there today. I would just ask everyone everywhere to please pray for their family and to pray for our country. We need it now more than ever. Thank you.
We have just been listening to law enforcement, the governor there as well of the state of Utah, with an update on the murder of Charlie Kirk and the law enforcement activities that have since transpired since that shooting this afternoon involving the 31-year-old Kirk. According to authorities, as you just heard there, they have a person of interest in custody. The FBI director, Kash Patel, describing that person as a suspect, but authorities there saying it is a person of interest. They do not believe at this point that there is a second shooter involved in what happened in Orem, Utah earlier today. But as you might imagine, this investigation is still very much active, very much ongoing. You heard from the governor there, Spencer Cox, and what he had to say. It's comments that probably everyone in this country, no matter if you are on the political left, the political right, somewhere in the middle, or can't stand politics to begin with, should listen to. The governor saying of Charlie Kirk, quote, "I don't care what his politics are. I care that he's an American." Spencer Cox also noting the upcoming 250-year anniversary of America, saying, quote, "Is this what 250 years has brought on us? I pray that's not the case." The governor describing this as a quote-unquote political assassination, also adding, quote, "Charlie Kirk was first and foremost a dad to 2 young children." Full panel here with me now. Kurt Bardella, NewsNation contributor. Aaron McGuire is a Republican strategist. Chris Steyerwalt, host of the Hill Sunday, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, and Julia Manchester, national political reporter for The Hill. Hello to you all. Thanks for being here as we take all of this in. Chris, Spencer Cox there speaking to the country.
Spencer Cox has devoted a lot of political capital and a lot of time into the project of trying to have a more decent discourse in the United States. And we should remember that the remarkable success of Charlie Kirk was rooted in discourse, right? It was pugnacious discourse, but it was discourse that he wanted to go from campus to campus. The other thing that Cox said that struck me as very valuable is he said, if you felt the least bit happy or you celebrated the least bit at this, take a look at yourself. And look, I would just say, if you're a person who had positive feelings about Luigi Mangione, if you're a person who thought that Ashley Babbitt was in the right place doing the right thing, if you think that she was martyred for a worthy cause, you have to understand that the path of madness that this will take us to, right? It won't be one side or the other's fault. It will be the fault of a nation that lost its way. It will be the fault of a nation that was no longer able to engage with one another without violence, with any sort of decency, or with any, most importantly, humanity. And I echo and second everything that the governor said.
Yeah, I mean, the mention of Luigi Mangione, who assassinated or is accused of assassinating the CEO of United Healthcare, the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. These are just some of the latest examples we've seen of political violence in this country. And you know, I've had this conversation with people for a few years now, but it seems to ring true today. It seems like we've entered an era into this country, and it's not a mere image, but a lot of people like to compare the era we're in now to the 1960s. We see the assassination attempts or assassinations of these major political figures, these activists who have a major impact on our political discourse and our culture. And it's not from, you know, it's not left versus right. We see it on both sides of the aisle. And, you know, we got through it, the U.S. got through it in the 1960s. I don't know what's going to happen next, because we often hear, and we're hearing it today, all of these lawmakers, all of these politicians coming out and saying, lower the temperature, lower the temperature. Well, we said that last year during the first assassination attempt against President Trump. What are we seeing now?
I've known you for years, Aaron. First thing I said to you today when I saw you, I asked you how you're doing, because I know that you know Charlie Kirk. You knew him, had interacted with him. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts tonight as we try to take all of this in?
First and foremost, my heart and my prayers go to him, of his family, his wife. She is now a widow. She has 2 children of her own she's going to be raising with the memory of her husband over them the entire time. This was a political assassination today. A man was murdered in cold blood, and it doesn't matter which political party it is. That is devastating to witness. Charlie was a man who made an incredible impact on the conservative movement in this country. He brought young people to a movement that up until that point were being resoundingly rejected. Republicans were not bringing in younger voters. Charlie met them, brought them in, and continued a conversation with them. And then when he was continuously challenged by the left about his believing, about his ideology, he went to these college campuses and would take on anybody in a respectful fashion to argue his points. He died doing what he was trying to do for this country, which was increase the dialogue and conversation in a respectful manner. And he was murdered for it in front of people today. My heart breaks. And there is an entire generation of young conservatives now who just watched a man that they very much idolized be murdered. And that will have a large impact on the conservative movement and on Republican politics for generations to come. My heart is absolutely broken for him and his family. And I hope this is a political reckoning in this country. I hope that when everybody says, turn the temperature down, remember that's a person. I've been the threat of targets before. I'm sure everybody on this panel at some point has been a threat of a political target for having an opinion. It's not okay in this country. Shouldn't happen to anybody. And this is the outcome when it doesn't come down.
Yeah, I echo every syllable that Aaron just said. And again, I think, you know, at times, I think a lot of people watch these shows and listen to podcasts, and it's easy to not think of any of us as actual human beings who have real lives, real families, deal with the same things that every American has to deal with every day. And as I watched everything unfold today, again, you know, I'm a dad like you are. I can't help but think of these 2 kids who are now going to have to grow up with this. Everyone's going to know for the rest of their life who their dad was and how he died. And it's mortifying to believe that they're going to have to exist in that kind of a world and have to deal with that and never be able to forget it. And why did he die? Most likely because someone disagreed with his politics. That is abhorrent. That is terrible. And any single person out there who derived any sense of joy or satisfaction or is in any way cheering this on, let me tell you, if you think that the answer to a disagreement about the direction of our country is to use violence and terrorism to get your way, first of all, you are not an American. Second of all, you are actually harming the things that you reportedly believe in. You are setting your own cause back. You are your own worst enemy. And this is not the type of country we should have. And I hope that everyone across the board heeds this warning. It's right in front of us now. This isn't hypothetical. This is happening right now. We have the power to not be this country, to not go in this direction. I hope we heed it, and I hope that we don't end up in a situation where people on both sides are just continuing to escalate, because the consequences of that are tragic.
Joining me now, Arif Halabi is a national security analyst, personal friend of Charlie Kirk, with us tonight here on the Hill. Arif, thank you for joining us. I am so sorry it is under these circumstances. You are a friend of Charlie Kirk. How will you remember him?
You know, Charlie was very powerful in his ability to argue and discuss points, and to do so in a respectful manner. Look, his words were the bridge that took violence and really one side's violence. It's so funny how many times people say, oh, both sides, oh, it's tit for tat. And when the words of Ashley Babbitt, I love you, Chris. I listen to you all the time, watch you all the time, but you're just wrong. Ashley Babbitt was murdered. There's no question about it. I was a law enforcement officer. You're not allowed to.
I don't want to. I want to focus here on Charlie Kirk.
We'll focus on this.
Yeah,
for sure. Listen, Charlie Kirk was a man who understood the power of words and the power of understanding. Very important. The power of understanding that there's a level and a place where we can agree to disagree, and you cannot use moral equivalence across the board when it's one side doing this. Listen, I love everybody on the panel. You guys understand, but privately, you know the truth. We do. Charlie and I would have conversations about what the direction of the country was. I would share with him sometimes when I was on the police department in Los Angeles before I retired. And we talked about how violence escalated during the riots in Los Angeles and how you saw the irresponsibility of the politicians, from the mayor to the governor to various people, city council, et cetera. And that led to people going out onto the street. That's very important to understand. The messaging, we are powerful. I have a radio show now for 22 years. We are powerful in the media. Your words matter. If you don't think that there are people that are unhinged out there and 51%, 49 can be flipped one way or the other, Charlie knew that. He was pushing back at the crazy side and saying, listen, I think if we get out and we have a discussion and I can push back and explain and be a decent human being about it, then I can keep people from crossing that brink into the world of violence. And I just think we have to be awake as a society and understand that at this moment in time, it's not the 50s, it's not McCarthyism. At this moment in time, there's violent rhetoric coming from one side, and look, okay, both sides might say something, but this is important.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Arif Halabi with us here on the Hill tonight, friend of Charlie Kirk. Arif, thank you, appreciate it. With me now, NewsNation national security contributor, former FBI special agent Tracy Walder, former Secret Service special agent Charles Marino. Tracy, Charles, thanks for joining me tonight and jumping on in here. We heard from law enforcement. It sounds like there is a person of interest, as they described it. The FBI director called it a suspect. Tracy, what stood out to you when you heard law enforcement? Because they say there's an active investigation ongoing.
Well, thank you for having me. The first thing that stood out to me is I never thought that the initial person that people were saying who had done it was this person. It was just way too quick afterwards. So I'm not surprised that it took a little bit of time. I am surprised actually by how quickly they were able to get this person. It looks to me that there's about 2,000 to 3,000 people in that crowd, sort of a mass chaos situation, if you will. Also, I feel the shooter was probably on a roof, although we don't have confirmation of that. And so I think they did a really good job of apprehending this person relatively quickly, in my opinion.
Charles?
Yeah, look, I agree. This investigation is going to move quickly, especially if you're unsure that you've got the right person in custody. So they're going to continue to sweep that entire campus.
What does that mean, Charles? Like, the law enforcement said, look, it's closed circuit television. You can imagine it's probably not the best, but helpful. There's a person of interest in custody. So does that mean, like, in just plain language, they think they have the person, but they can't go there just yet? Or you think they don't?
They're not gonna go there just yet. That'll develop over time, but then they're also gonna have a lot of boots on the ground making sure that they do in fact have the right person. There's a lot of interviews. It was a big crowd. It was an open environment, a tough site to secure. No ticket checks going on, no screening. So it's highly possible that after the shot was taken, that somebody could blend in with the entirety of that crowd as they were fleeing. So they're going to make sure that they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's here.
Tracy?
I completely agree with Charles, and that was my first instinct, was that this person may have blended in with the crowd. I think they are almost going to have, and this isn't a bad thing, too much evidence. You've got a bunch of college kids, not all college kids, but mostly college kids with phones recording all of this. So you have all of this on camera. And yes, the police chief mentioned that they do have that CCTV, but I suspect, and I do wonder, if someone did catch this on their iPhone, did catch this person on their iPhone, because I bet they confiscated the phones of anyone that they came into contact with that was at this event, and they are currently going through them, and they may have gotten a better picture.
Interesting. Tracy Walder, NewsNation contributor. Charles Marino, friend of the show. Always welcome your expertise, Charles. Tracy, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Blake.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, as it's 6:56 here in Washington tonight, and on the East Coast, 4:56 out there in Orem, Utah, as our coverage continues here on NewsNation, as the governor there of the state of Utah described it, a political assassination today. Charlie Kirk, 31 years old. Really, and last thoughts here, as influential as they come, really, Chris, in conservative circles. And obviously today you think about just the sheer horror of this. There's obviously the law enforcement component of this. We heard, the governor essentially speak to the country about this. And there's going to be a lot of questions going forward because Charlie Kirk, whether it was a following online or in person, was a huge figure in the conservative movement.
For sure. Whoever did this and whatever it was, it is important for us all to remember that we all might be wrong in our political views and our political thinking. We could be mistaken about things and opinions that we hold and things that we believe. A dogmatic attachment to ideas and views will lead us to crazy town, right? We will eventually drive ourselves mad if we do not open the door crack to the idea that maybe what Julia thinks is right and what I think is wrong. Maybe that's true. And that sort of humility is what is necessary for us to have a decent discourse. And if you begin every moment by saying those people are bad and these people are good, those people are always wrong and these people are always right, you will never learn a dang on thing. And for all the young hippies who ever went out and argued with Charlie Kirk, I bet they came away smarter and better for having engaged in that discourse and done that than if they would have just stayed online and talked with people they agreed with and said that it was good. So be open to the possibility that you might be wrong. Talk to somebody you disagree with and treat them like a human being. If you want to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy tonight, try that.
And be open to the possibility that you may not change their mind. I think oftentimes people enter into these political conversations thinking they're going to convert this person to their beliefs. It just doesn't happen that way. I think Charlie Kirk was aware of it. I'm sure his liberal counterparts at these events were aware of it. So I think we just all have to remember that.
Yeah, I think pluralism is the key to our democracy. It's okay to have different views. It makes us healthy. It makes us better. And if you disagree with me, that doesn't make you my enemy. It doesn't make you an enemy of this country. It doesn't mean you should be run out of this country. Expressing differing viewpoints is what our country was built on. It's what makes us stronger.
I think that the takeaway we should all have, and anybody that's watching any political TV this evening, is that these are people. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, is a man and a father and a husband and a grandfather. Charlie Kirk is a brother and a son and a husband and a man. And everybody you see on TV is a person with a family and a personality. And it's devastating that one of those was taken away today because of their political beliefs.
It was just afternoon in Utah this afternoon. Charlie Kirk was launching the first of a tour where he was going to go to university to university to university. There were thousands there in attendance. And all of a sudden, as we understand it tonight, an assassin from a roof fired a bullet and took the life of a 31-year-old man, took the life of a husband, took the life of a father. There are 2 children tonight, just 1 and 3 years old, who lost their father. We'll be back here tomorrow on The Hill. I'm Blake Berman.